call to worship this morning. Good morning. Welcome. I'm going to let Sarah York call us to worship this morning. She writes, "We receive fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up for the precious gifts that they are, and renewed by their grace, move boldly into the unknown." Our opening song is 1013, Open My Heart, and the words will be on the screen.
You may rise and bow to your spirit as you are able. As Alan plays through this with Craig, sing it with me a few times, and then we're going to break off into a round. Be brave this morning, friends. Here's how it goes. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you. Everyone, open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you. Again, the same thing. Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love. Part one. Open my heart. 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 Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give.
We light the flame of wisdom inside the embracing community of our chalice. A flame which held our ancient ancestors in the fear and rapture of awe. This energy, the awesome power of the sun, of lightning, of stars, of the gods themselves, a power burning quietly in every cell of our bodies. It sparks also in our hearts and minds as we begin our service, represented by the flaming chalice.
Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to the UU Church of Lancaster, or UUCL, as we say. We're glad you're here this morning. I'm Marian Joyce, your worship associate for today, and a 35-year member of this community. We welcome you this morning just as you are. You are sitting in a sanctuary with some who grew up UU, while most of us are from other faith traditions, or humanist, agnostic, or atheist. Every Sunday is a little different as our faith leaders choose from many sources of wisdom, as you can see in the mobile overhead or the mural outside. So if this is your first time here today with us, check us out a few times, as every Sunday is a little bit different. But today, may you feel a connection to this diverse spiritual community. We welcome back J.D. Stillwater leading the service today, as our lead minister, Reverend Howard Dana, gets a break from this pulpit one Sunday a month. JD, aka the Science Ambassador, was a classroom teacher for 25 years, and he now shares his awe and wonder of nature with global audience. The reading chosen today by JD is by James Burklow, author of Bridging the God Gap. This is an excerpt from an article posted at progressivechristianity.org in February 2012. Burko writes, I think that many atheists are really awe-theists. They are people who experience the same kind of reverential wonder and respect for life and the highest human values that we associate with religion at its best. Awe is their God, though they don't use that terminology. I use Christian language to describe the deep humility I feel when I mindfully encounter the miraculous natural world around and within me. For me, God isn't supernatural. God is the essential creative nature of the universe. Bridging the God Gap offers a breathtaking array of places to stay or at least visit along the road between theism and atheism. The human experience of God, or the ultimate reality formerly known as God, defies definition by its very nature. Pondering that is enough to make an awetheist out of me.
Saying it's a full-time job just keeping track of my slide advancer. Good morning. Let me start again. Good morning. I have always been fascinated with lightning, just the primal power and the unpredictability of it. It's also beautiful in its own way. Well, when I was about 16, my family lived on 7 acres, rural acres in upstate New York. And our century-old farmhouse nestled at the bottom of a gentle hill with a huge metal-sided equipment barn up on top of that hill. And I see some of you can guess where this might be going. I heard thunder approaching from the west up beyond the hill, and I just felt a powerful draw to go up there and watch the storm roll in. So I grabbed an umbrella and ran up to stand just outside the barn where the land flattened out and I could see the dark clouds approaching from the west. And there was lightning in the distance. And the whole atmosphere felt electrified, alive with anticipation. It was really exciting. Have you felt that just before a storm? Yeah. Well, I saw one good strike about a mile away, up near the dirt road that we called Lover's Lane. But it was a small strike and, too far to really see very well. And then the rain started in earnest, pummeling the metal barn roof next to me, like 100 drummers playing fast and random right next to me. By this time, my siblings had caught up, but they stayed back on the driveway just below the crest of the hill. And they screamed over the din, to get back in the house. Do you want to be struck by lightning or something? And I yelled back, it's not even here yet, just another minute or two. And as I spoke that last word, there was a loud electrical crackling sound inside the corner of the barn where the power panel is, loud enough to hear over the rain that was pounding the roof. And that scared me. So reluctantly, with many backward looks over my shoulder, I went back to the house, and the storm rolled harmlessly over us. And it wasn't until about 20 years later that I got my wish and experienced lightning really close by. And that time, I was leading a wilderness hike for teenagers in the Lewis Fork Wilderness of Western Virginia. And we were camped in a spot that we called Dead Pony Ridge because there was a skeleton of a wild pony nearby where we camped. And there's not much to the story, actually. I was collecting firewood near our campsite, and there was no warning, no rain, no distant thunder, just a kind of a cool breeze that suggested maybe we should collect firewood soon because it might rain. And bam, lightning struck a tree less than 100 feet away. The flash and the bang were simultaneous and gobsmackingly bright and loud. My ears rang, my eyes clenched, and I was momentarily deaf-blind and stunned. And then came the exhilaration, the whoops and the hollers and the, did you feel that? Everyone was filled with this overwhelming feeling of triumph, of excitement, and some feeling that's kind of hard to describe. Well, what I felt that day was awe. Awe is an emotion. It's an experience, a feeling. And until recently, researchers who study human emotions and feelings haven't actually known that much about awe. I don't know if that's because they ran out of other emotions to study or if no one thought to study awe before this, but really just the last 25 years have seen a flurry of experimental studies of awe. And the results are predictably awesome. Now, the researchers define awe as, quote, an emotional response to perceptually vast stimuli that overwhelm current mental structures yet facilitate attempts at accommodation, end quote. In other words, awe takes us out of our everyday lives and challenges our conceptions of reality, leaving us in a state of wonder as we try to make sense of what just happened. Awe happens when we perceive something vast, and vastness can be physical, like the Grand Canyon or distant galaxies, or the overwhelming light and sound of a lightning strike. Vastness can also be metaphorical or conceptual, as in an expansive idea with vast implications, like Einstein's theory of relativity, for example. And there's another kind of vastness we might not normally think of. This woman has cancer, and to prepare for chemotherapy, she asked a barber to shave her head, and she's obviously kind of distraught. And to his credit, he really understands the gravity of what he's been asked to do for her. Watch what he does. You actually said it. Oh, right? Vastness can be social, like seeing someone perform an act of great altruism, with vast implications for how we think about our fellow humans, right? Vastness can also be embodied in the complexity of something, like the schematic of human metabolism. I mean, it's so intricate. It goes on and on. Awe can be invoked by grand vistas, powerful music, intense meditation, fast or slow motion videos, powerful people, intricate artwork. Just kidding, here's some. It can be the vastness of a religious epiphany, even impressive buildings, although studies show that nature and natural settings are by far the most common sources of awe for most people. When we feel awe, several things happen inside us. The first is we feel small, kind of insignificant, suddenly aware that we are in the presence of something far greater than ourselves. And researchers call this experience the small self, and it's related to the perceived vastness of the event that we're witnessing. At the same time, two different parts of our brain change their activity the parietal lobe and the central executive network. And, those terms are not going to be on the test. Just listen. The parietal lobe normally orients us and anchors us in our skins. It's aware of our body's edges and boundaries. And during awe, the parietal lobe tamps down its activity, dissolving the perceived boundaries between ourselves and our surroundings. So it makes us feel more connected, more a part of our environment. And in extreme awe, many people report an all-encompassing oneness with the entire universe, with everything. At the same time, the central executive network increases its activity, and this brain system is involved in what we pay attention to. So awe centers us in the moment. It immerses us in the experience. In other words, our ego takes a break for a little bit. We can't be self-conscious while we're experiencing awe. David Yaden at Johns Hopkins he's one of the researchers, and he describes 6 core characteristics of awe experiences. And we've discussed the first 3 of them already. But to illustrate this one, I want to show you a short video of the turning earth. Just watch. Now, pay attention to what's happening in your body. When we are in awe, our jaw tends to drop, so our mouth gapes, our eyebrows raise, our eyes widen, our heart rate changes, our respiration changes, we may have goosebumps and chills, and interestingly, any inflammation that's happening in the body decreases. So awe is the original anti-inflammatory. Our nervous system shifts from fight or flight towards rest and digest. We feel happier, and our lives feel more meaningful. But because our ego, our self-consciousness, is kind of offline during awe, we usually can't articulate those feelings in the moment. We just feel amazed. And related to this is the strange effect on our sense of time. During and after an awe experience, we're less impatient. We're more likely to feel that there's enough time. And we're more generous with our time. All right, so what's this need for accommodation? Well, experiences that invoke awe in us challenge our worldview in some way. They violate our expectations. When an experience challenges our previous ideas about how the world works, and especially if it challenges our place in the world, we feel kind of off kilter, and our brains set about trying to fix that, to get back to something that feels like settled certainty. And this striving, this need to get back to understanding, is what the researchers mean by need for accommodation. And usually, we either accommodate by rejecting the experience or revising our expectations, adjusting our mental constructs of the world and how it works. So this need for accommodation is where awe gets really interesting for the relationship between science and religion. Awe is central to the formation and maintenance of religions. Theologian Frederick Buechner said, quote, "Religions start with a lump in the throat, or the bush going up in flames, the rain of flowers, the dove coming down out of the sky," end quote. I certainly felt the lump in the throat in that barber video. Awe taps into the deepest parts of us and our relationship with reality, and it changes us there in ways that feel religious or spiritual. There's a reason religious buildings are so vast and so beautiful. They're designed to invoke awe, to make us feel small, but also feel deeply connected with one another and with a higher power. And that need for accommodation, especially when the awe experience is mysterious in some way or hard to explain, it leads many people to assign supernatural causes to the event that they witnessed. So religion and awe can feed one another. And people actually study this stuff scientifically. And what they find is that humans are uncomfortable with the idea of randomness. Even when the world is random, we presume that some agent, some author is behind what we're perceiving. For example, given random strings of numbers, college students who had just experienced awe were more likely to say that the numbers were arranged by some person. For most people, this translates to stronger belief in religious deities. So a need for accommodation is closely tied with religious belief in people generally. A few years ago, after presenting my 7 Candles workshop, which is designed to make audiences feel awe from science, a man comes up to me and he says, "JD, that is the most convincing proof of God I've ever experienced." And the woman right behind him in line comes up and says, "JD, that was the most comprehensive talk I've ever heard on why there's no need for a God." They each experienced the exact same presentation, but he accommodated his awe by invoking God, and she accommodated hers with natural laws. Both are reasonable and valid. And it's natural for us to do this because we crave explanations. So much so that most of us tend toward quick accommodation without investigation. It's basically jumping to conclusions, and we all do it. I'll say more about that in Awetheism Part 2, which I'll be here, I think it's March 1st. But for now, let me point out that experiences of awe can lead to different responses in us. We can dismiss the experience. We can assume that human or mystical agents are causing it. And we can get curious, living in that uncomfortable space of not knowing. And that last option requires flexible mental frameworks that can accommodate ambiguity and mystery, at least for a while. The most common setting where people feel awe is nature. And my close calls with lightning are prime examples. Now, when I say nature, you might be thinking of forests and bunny rabbits, but nature is also rocks and viruses and other planets and the electricity in this microphone, and also happenings like the ball leaving Caitlin Clark's hand on its way to her record-breaking three-point swish, right? Nature is everything science can explore and describe. Nature is physical reality when I use that term. When I take to heart what science reveals about nature, I often experience awe. Here's a recent example from February of 2024. A genetic study revealed that our complex nervous systems are only possible because we inherited genes from a retrovirus that infected a fish ancestor of ours millions of years ago. And those genes allowed for the myelin insulation sheath on all of our nerve cells. Brains can't work without that. Turns out that a full 40% of mammal genes contain bits of DNA that were provided by viruses that infected our deep ancestors. You know, I read studies like that and my jaw drops and my eyebrows go up and I say, wow. And often I say it out loud, which makes Anne come over to see, what's going on? Oh, just another study. And when this happens, all the characteristics of awe are in play for me. Because studies like that, new revelations about nature, open up vast new understanding about myself and my ancestry. They violate my expectations about illness and suffering and the mysterious ways of the world. It's tempting to conclude that science is awesome, but it's nature that's awesome. Science just reveals nature's awesomeness in ever greater, more awe-inspiring detail. If religions are founded on and maintained by awe, what should we call people whose spirituality is based on experiences of awe? Well, I wish I had coined that term awetheist, but I am one of the first people to take it seriously. I like it, and I kind of hope it catches on. Atheists can live on any part of the spectrum of believers. But most of the people I think are atheists don't spend a whole lot of time talking about whether God exists or not. They're too busy being wowed by what's right here for the enjoyment and wonder of everyone. Awe is a significant source of spirituality for me personally. And nature and the science that reveals it keeps providing me with new opportunities to feel awe and to become a better person as a result. There's so much to share about awe as a source of spiritual enrichment that this sermon, as you have probably guessed, this is only part one of a three-part series. And in preparing today's sermon, I learned that Siri and Alexa and other speech-to-text systems, they don't seem to even know about the word awe. Instead, typing all every time I say awe. So, it's a good thing this isn't a sermon about leather tools. I should probably finish my story about that lightning strike on Dead Pony Ridge. While we were all still bubbling with the thrill of the strike, the whole group went to look for the tree that had got struck. It was a forested area, so we had to look. We found it. It was a tall pine, and there was a strip of bark missing, stripped off in a spiral from the top of the tree down to the base. And tattered remnants of bark littered the ground and hung from nearby branches like shrapnel. And we were pretty sure this was going to kill the tree. And the sight of it is literally burned into my memory. Lightning is vast power indeed. It's no wonder our ancestors assigned lightning to the most powerful gods. It's the same power that burns in our chalice and in our cells. The same power that struck the universe into being at the beginning of time, and that carries starlight to us across deep time and deep space. Speaking of which, in 2004, the Hubble Space Telescope took the first of many photographs called deep field images. They chose a tiny little square of sky about, in between all of the known stars, about the size of a grain of sand held out at the end of your arm. Tiny piece of sky. What do you see when, for sheer curiosity, you zoom in on nothing but a tiny square of black space between the stars? You see over 10,000 galaxies. Each dot is a galaxy, containing on average about 400 billion stars. And subsequent deep field images confirm this happens in every direction we point our telescopes. And it's how we know there are as many as 2 trillion galaxies in the visible universe. Later, someone calculated the distance for each of these galaxies and made this 3D fly-through. So, watching this, if you're feeling kind of small, but maybe a little more connected and grateful, perhaps even a little more generous, may it always be so. Blessed be, and amen. Will you join me in singing number 301, Touch the Earth and Reach the Sky?
You may rise and bow to your spirit as you are able. Touch the earth, reach the sky, walk on shores while spirits fly, over the ocean, over the land, our faith a quest to understand. Touch the earth, reach the sky, children ask the reasons why. In our lives the answers show, and by our love they learn to grow. Touch the earth, reach the sky, all are born and all shall die. Life's a time left in between, to follow a star, to build a dream. Touch the earth, reach the sky, hug the laughter, feel the cry. May we see where we can give, for this is what it means to live. Touch the earth, reach the sky, soar with courage ever high. Spirits joining as we fly, to touch the earth, to reach the sky.
Bob, can I have a mic? Thanks. I don't know if you could see this from your vantage point when JD was up there, but did you notice the light shining on his tie? Could you see that? And it was flickering. I didn't even notice it was a lightning tie until I could see it moving. He really pays attention to the details. So I'm going somewhere different with this worship associate reflection. I'm talking more about awe moments rather than the vastness of the universe. So yesterday, Saturday morning at 7:15 a.m., I'm sitting at the red light on Delp Road, waiting for the traffic on Lidditz Pike to change, waiting for that light. And I'm focused on the red circle, because it usually only lets 2 cars through. And this light is taking a long time. So my eye wanders, and opposite me, there is a sublime sunrise sky, contrasting starkly with black skeletons of winter trees. And I am in awe. And I almost missed it, had the light been green. We can experience daily moments of awe, moments of wonder, if we are paying attention, not being in our heads, but actually being present. There's a quote by Mary Oliver, "Let me keep my mind on what matters," which is mostly standing still and learning to be astonished. So what brings you to a standstill and has you pause in awe? My examples are the V of the Canada geese in flight, or their distinctive calls as they change formation when one drops back while another takes the lead. I live on a migration path, and it's a sight and sound that always makes me pause. Don't you love first experiences? Like watching a 2-year-old's face driving through the car wash for the first time. Saucer eyes. Can we go again? Awe is connection both to the universe and those around you, as JD had said. Connection to whether human or animal. I used to foster dogs from Pet Pantry, and usually the dog arrives scared and confused. However, there comes a time when this dog decides to trust you, lays its head in your lap, and looks you in the eyes. It's a gift of grace and awe. Awe is also awareness, like emerging out of a good nap, the moment between glorious sleep and waking to a mind and body completely rested. This probably doesn't resonate with the Generation X and Z, but rest with. There is awe in witnessing moral or physical courage. Remember the Russian dissident Alexei Navalny? What did it take for him to leave that German hospital after an attempted poisoning by the Putin regime to return to certain death in Russia? What does it take for women to come forward in the Epstein case, or any instances speaking truth to power? Contrast many individuals' moral courage today versus corporate moral cowardice in our own times, and be in awe. Every time I hear sirens, the daily courage of EMTs, firefighters, cops, like the 2 Mannheim Township officers who waded into a freezing pond 3 winters ago near my house, and they pulled a woman out of a sinking car moments before drowning. What does it take? So what brings you to a standstill and has you pause in awe? You don't have to seek out the extraordinary, but maybe see the ordinary in a new way, cultivating a type of mindfulness that allows you to pay attention to what's right here and now. Rachel Carson wrote, "One way to open your eyes is to ask yourself, what if I had never seen this before? What if I knew I would never see it again?" All right, let's take a breath. Breathe in, count of 4. Hold it for the count of 4. And let it out for the count of 4. And so today, after the service, we will invite you downstairs for a social hour. It's accessible via an elevator through that doorway, or just follow the crowd down the steps. And also, this is the time in our service where we have the opportunity for generosity. I have lost my spot. Excuse me a moment while I find it. Here we go. A portion of the basket goes to the upkeep of the building and to pay our staff, and a portion to a local agency that helps folks we may never meet to improve their lives. There is a correction in today's bulletin. It changes for January and February. Our Share the Plate recipient is the Clay Street Emergency Shelter in Lancaster City. It's the only low barrier shelter, which means that individuals can come as they are and receive the resources they need to be safe overnight. Over 500 individuals experiencing homelessness had a dignified place to sleep, shower, and get back on their feet in the past year at Clay Street. On Sundays in January and February, a portion of the Share the Plate will be donated to help Clay Street complete an ongoing Road Home project. And on Sunday, February 1st, Deb Jones of the Homelessness Coalition will be at coffee hour to share more information with us. The ushers may now come forward. Thank you.
This short piece is called Snow is Dancing by Kevin.
Stones. Okay. All right. You may have come here today with a joy in your heart, a hope, a sorrow, or a struggle. Now is the time for the sand garden ritual, where you choose a stone to represent your complex truths and place the stone in the community sand bowl right over there. This is a silent reflection with Alan playing softly on piano. If you are new and wish to place a stone, just follow the others, come up the center, and return by the side aisle. And now if JD would please place a stone for the unspoken joys and concerns among us.
Let's spend a moment in silence together. Spirit of awe and fear, wonder and grief, joy and sorrow, faith and doubt. We gather in community to share it all. The aspirations of a new year begun. The worries of medical concerns, the wins and losses, hopes and dreams. Help us to remain balanced and present as we are barraged by world events that are so nonsensical, we struggle to even find words to describe the depth of insanity. We hold it all in our hearts and minds, comforted by the presence of this blessed community of souls. Amen. If, like me, you are pretty much at a loss regarding the news of the last few days, please know that you are not alone. I am often helped in times like this by the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. And I stop right there. What's also helpful to me is our affirmation of faith, which is inside the front cover. And if you're watching from home, it should be on the screen momentarily. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ofrenda. Este es nuestro gran pacto, el convivir unidos en paz, el buscar la verdad en amor, y ayudarnos unos a los otros. I'm supposed to be doing the announcements and the invitation to coffee hour. I noticed that I got out of sequence a little bit earlier. With regard to the announcements, they're in your order of service. And I want to highlight especially the New Year's Labyrinth Walk. The 11th Circuit canvas is open today. And if you haven't walked that, it's usually a 7th Circuit labyrinth that's ingrained in the floor. Today, you have the opportunity to do the 11 circuit canvas, and this will be the last day of it. And afterwards, the volunteers will be rolling it up. And if you would like to join for that, it's a really interesting experience. The canvas is not one big canvas. It's strips. It's like a puzzle that they put together, and it's held together with Velcro. It is really neat. I experienced it for the first time a few days ago when we put it together. So it's a fun thing to volunteer for if you're still around. And don't forget to register for Bonnie's 3 sessions on Intro to Buddhism. Bonnie's sitting right in the front there, you can check out the others' announcements as well. And our closing song for today is 1028, Fire of Commitment, right? Mm-hmm. In the Teal hymnal.
Give your eyes and let your spirit. From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and marks of spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance as the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. You're doing great. Keep it up, friends. From the stories of our living brings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. One more verse, given everything you got. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can
The song has reminded me that I want to add a little bit to what I said. Go ahead and take your seats. This won't take long, but the time will come for the second line of the Serenity Prayer. And I hope, I trust that I will be granted the courage to change the things I can. I didn't intend to imply that we stop there for good. I just mean that in the morning when the news comes on and I'm tempted to go into I'm not sure what, that first line is helpful to me. We opened our service with some words from Sarah York. We're going to close it with some words from Sarah York. And Marian and I are going to tag team this. Give us the child who lives within.
Give us a child's eyes, that we may receive the beauty and freshness of this day like a sunrise.
Give us a child's ears, that we may hear the music of mythical times.
Give us a child's heart, that we may be filled with wonder and delight.
Give us a child's faith, that we may be cured of our cynicism.
Give us the spirit of the child, who is not afraid to need, who is not afraid to love.
Amen.